Hey everyone, Nubkeks here, and excuse the infinite regress. Here we go, there we go, we're on to the builds. I'm still running on a single monitor, so I start off with the recording window open. I'm going to be setting up my second monitor for streaming and doing a whole new streaming schedule with the new season going live for me tomorrow. That's Wednesday over here in EU. What I want to do in today's video though, I'm going to go through and give you guys a build for Hanzo and for each of the stealth reworked heroes so that you're set up nicely for this new patch. So you've got an idea of what a good, solid, effective build is going to be. Now, it might not turn out to be the best build in the end, right? Because there's so many changes in this patch. We still have to work it out, learn from all the other great players out there. But these should be solid builds that will certainly get you started pretty well. So let's take a look at Hanzo first of all. And Hanzo is certainly one that I'm relatively unsure of. I'm quite certain about the three middle ones. I think Valeera and Hanzo are the most up in the air because they're the newest of these heroes, the most changed really. Basically, my philosophy for building Hanzo is going to be, we're not going to build into Scatter Arrow, right? Because that's quite difficult to use. It's going to take some practice to get used to, so that's not a build you're going to be using week one. Okay, it's not a build you're going to be using week one until you've got a bit more practice on Hanzo. Might come more online after that. We're going to be building probably into Q. It's just set to default. I've just chosen all the first talents here. Don't worry about that. So at level 1, we're going to pick up target practice. So this is quest, hit every enemy heroes with Stormbow. After hitting every enemy hero once, the range is increased by 30%, which is actually really nice for poke. And then after hitting every hero 3 times with Stormbow, it gives you an extra 100 damage. So again, this does reward skill nicely, that extra 100 damage. It's a flat bonus, so that would be great in the early game. It's just a nice little talent to pick up from the get-go. Level 4 is actually pretty interesting. There's a few different options. So explosive arrows will actually be the one you'll be taking most often. So this will make your Stormbow splash to other minions and monsters when you hit them with it. So that's actually very, very useful for wave clear, which Hanzo usually struggles against. Against Scatter Arrow build maybe in the future. One that I think could be quite good on Brax's Holdout in particular, and maybe even on somewhat on Battlefield of Eternity as well, because I mean, let's be honest, the splash isn't going to be that great there either. Basically for Braxis or Battlefield, you know, these ones where you're in a lane for a long time, the new Battlefield you will be. Basic attacks instantly kill minions and increase Hanzo's basic attack range by 2 for 3 seconds. You can imagine that on Braxis, if you already have the wave clear locked down, and that is the key point, if wave clear is already a non-issue for your team, the extra poke and harass this gives you in lane may be worthwhile. Again, most of the time you're going to be going for explosive arrows. At level 7, again, this one has some interesting choices. Shield breaker arrows could be very strong if they do have a shield heavy team, something like a Tassadar usually. Pretty much only Tassadar, I would say. You might not want to run this against Zarya, that could go badly. We're typically going to be going for the Dragon Hunger. So hitting a hero with Stormbow gives you 5% spell power for 10 seconds, stacking up to 20%. You should be hitting your Stormbow pretty consistently, and the 10-second buff is a very long time, so over the course of a team fight, you'll be able to stack this up loads, which will give you more damage from your Q, from your W, your E if you hit someone, I guess, and your heroics as well. In terms of heroic choice, they're actually both okay. I'm expecting Dragon's Arrow to be a little bit better overall. So this fires a missile that travels across the battleground and will explode upon hitting an enemy hero. It will do damage to nearby enemies, which is decent enough, and it will do a small stun. After going a medium distance, it does more damage and a much longer stun, and then after going a long distance, more damage again and an even longer stun. I just think the options this gives you for team fighting is very useful. I mean, stuns are just always strong, especially on ranged assassins. So this is going to be the one that you're going to go for most often. Dragon Strike could be very good if you already have a lot of CC and lockdown on your team. Plenty of engage, you don't need any more. This could be a good way to combo with it. Bear in mind, it's kind of hard to keep people in the center area. I would think they can get out quite easily. I think Dragon's Arrow is going to be better overall. Level 13 then, we are going to get Fleet of Foot. So hitting a hero with Stormbow gives 10 movement speed for 6 seconds, stacking up to 30%. Hanzo's very immobile. He's quite vulnerable to all that sort of stuff. This makes your life an awful lot easier, and again, you should be hitting those Qs pretty consistently, pretty easily. So yeah, it's just that movement speed will be really nice for getting around and getting more harassed and staying safer and more consistent in the team fights. At level 16, we actually are staying with this one as well. Flawless technique. Hitting heroes with Stormbow increases the damage of Hanzo's next basic attack within 5 seconds by 25%, and then a basic attack will increase the damage of his next Stormbow within 5 seconds by 25%. Really, with Hanzo, you're going to be weaving a basic attack, then a Stormbow cast in the middle of it, then another basic, then another Stormbow. That's roughly speaking going to be the rhythm of play here, and this is going to give you a very, very large increase to your damage output. And again, nice synergies with everything else that you've got. At level 20 then, we're going to be going for, I think, play of the game at the start is going to be the better option. So, this gives you the option to teleport to your Dragon's Arrow within 2 seconds while it's in flight, or within 2 seconds of activating it. So it can give you this opens up, I think, some opportunity for a bit of split push Hanzo, or for, you know, that kind of surprise play. So it gives you an escape, which is kind of nice, right? You can kind of split push and then fire off your arrow and use it as a teleport to escape if you're going to be ganked. That is one option. Obviously the better option is you could be lurking backwards or in a different lane, fire your arrow across, and then teleport in to join your team and catch the enemy by surprise, becoming a sort of pseudo-global. Obviously, you need to watch out for being caught out of position, right? Where you don't want to rely on being able to teleport in and the arrow misses, and then suddenly you're screwed because Hanzo's supposed to be there and he's not. But I think this, you know, play of the game sums it up well. It should open up some really nice opportunities for big plays. And yeah, there you go. I think that is going to be the best Hanzo build to go into at the start. Be interested to see how he goes moving forwards. Will the scatter arrow build become more viable as we move forwards? Jumping over to Nova, I think Nova is actually very straightforward. There's not much room, I think, for different talent builds with the new Nova. So at level 1, we're going to go for Long Shot. Increases the cast range of Pinning Shot by 30%. And after Pinning Shot, the range of your next basic attack will be buffed by 2. This is just fantastic because it gives you an awful lot more consistency. And it also synergizes with the other talents that we are going to take. Level 4, you've got a couple of good options. So Covert Mission, which gives you bribe stacks on takedowns and minion kills. That can be pretty good, actually. Also bear in mind, when you defeat a camp entirely with bribe, it does respawn faster, and merc camps are very good. So this one is a very, very solid option. Definitely one worth considering. I would say primarily on maps with the Siege Giants probably is your best bet. That's also good against the Shaman camp. I'm not sure what they're actually called. You know, the Summoner ones, like the Bruiser ones and like Inferno Shrines? Pretty good against those too. So yeah, Covert Mission is very solid. Rapid Projection is your other option as well, which reduces the cooldown and mana cost of Hollow Decoy. This will synergize with One in the Chamber, which you're going to choose in a second. With reduced cooldown, the mana cost is kind of nice as well. So it's kind of up to you what you're going to go for here. I'm going to go for Covert Mission in general, but Rapid Projection can be a very good choice. One in the Chamber then, level 7, I think is just the best one by far in this tier. After you use an ability, your next basic attack within 3 seconds does 70% additional damage. That gives you an awful lot more burst, and you can see how this synergizes nicely with Long Shot, of course. Precision Strike at level 10 for that instant burst also gives you proc of One in the Chamber, which is lovely. Then we're going to grab at 13. Double Tap Pinning Shot now has 2 charges. Again, it's more One in the Chamber burst, which is fantastic. And yeah, it's just more slows, more lockdown, and also other procs of Long Shot. Great stuff. Level 16, got a couple of options here as well. I think the default one is going to be Crippling Shot for sure, especially given the other talents that we've chosen here. So this will make your Pinning Shot lower a hero's armor by 25 for the duration of the slow. You can have 2 charges of this vulnerability that you can apply. It will just enhance all of the rest of your damage, all your One in the Chamber damage, and crucially too, it will enhance all of your team's damage. So yeah, this just enables you to get kills so much better. It's such a strong talent. And again, Long Shot also enables you to get that vulnerability up on those priority targets even better, more consistently. Lethal Decoy might be okay. Sometimes, perhaps, like if you've got like no team synergy or like no burst damage, I don't know, right? I don't know, maybe Lethal Decoy. But generally speaking, Crippling Shot's going to be the way to go. Then level 20, you absolutely want Rewind. And yeah, you can kind of see the build coming together. Basically what we've got here, we've got very consistent, what are they called? Pinning shots that are applying vulnerability. Every time we use an ability, we're going to weave a one in the chamber shot in with it, which is doing heavy damage. Then we can rewind. So we've got their snipes and all these vulnerabilities. We've got a ton of burst damage, and our goal is to just kind of stay in range and absolutely blow up and assassinate someone. And that's what Nova is going to do. And I really do think that this is pretty much the build you're going to be going for. There's, as you saw, I don't think there's really that much wiggle room. And I personally, my feedback on Nova, probably my favorite of the stealth changes overall. In that it just makes her better from a gameplay design perspective. She's just better designed, but her talent tree is, I feel, a little bit cookie cutter, so that is one concern there. Hopping over to Zeratul. Okay, so this is like the pub stomp Zeratul build. This is your Hero League solo queue Zeratul build. Basically, we're going to be picking up Might of the Nerazim now. This is his new heroic, right? So you can cast an untalented version of your most recently used basic ability. Then after using an ability, your next basic attack within 6 seconds does 40% more damage. At very high levels of play, and certainly in professional play, perhaps Void Prison would be better. However, I think for most of you and most of your Hero League games, you're going to get a lot more value out of just simply the raw damage and the utility of Might of the Nerazim as opposed to Void Prison, where it just, it just might not be utilized that well, right? It might not. You often see them wasted. Zeratul takes a crazy engage and VPs to save himself or something silly like that. I think Might of the Nerazim seems the way to go. Level 1, they're all pretty. I was gonna say pretty good. They're all pretty bad, but these are all fine options. I think you could legitimately pick anything here. I'm gonna go for Shadow Hunter overall for a little bit more flexibility, but I could very easily switch this one up. So Shadow Hunter is a quest to gather regen globes, reduces the mana cost of Blink, just gives you a bit more mana to play with, which is nice. And then once you've collected 15, and bear in mind that regen globes are now going to be neutral after a certain amount of time, so you might be able to gather these fairly easily as a Zeratul, making this quest a bit better than it was before. But after gathering 15, basic attacks reduce the cooldown of Blink, which also gives you more room for more aggressive plays. So this is the one I think is best overall, but very small margin. You could realistically choose anything. Level 4, we're going to grab Psionic Strength. Dealing damage to enemy heroes increases all damage dealt by 6% for 3 seconds, stacking up to 30%. You'll stack this up very quickly, and that's a very large damage boost. So yeah, you're just going to see this really enhancing your damage output. So it's very, very strong talent. Level 7, we're going to take Seeker in the Dark. This makes Singularity Spike take 50% longer to explode. And crucially, it can be reactivated to teleport to the target, giving you 30% increased movement speed for 3 seconds. So it's a gap close, it's an engagement tool. You don't want to be blinking into the fight. Even with Shadow Hunter, it's too risky. You need your blink to escape. You need your blink for mobility in the team fight to juke stuff. This gives you a really reliable engage. Bear in mind, they'll see you coming now, okay? You're this big white stealth shader. You're not really all that stealthy in some ways anymore, okay? This gives you an engage from range that's very consistent, reliable. This is your way to get in. Also, the teleport does give you a proc of Might of the Nerazim basic attack damage. So if you're in melee range already, you can, throw out your Singularity Spike, hit them with a basic attack, teleport, then hit them with another basic attack, and you get 40% bonus damage on both of those. So it's a nice little burst upgrade there, which is pretty cool. It also is going to synergize with level 16 talent, as you will see. Yeah, this is just great. The movement speed as well is a fantastic little boost once you get into the team fight too. So it's just very, very strong. Might of the Nerazim already covered that. Mending strikes at 13. Your basic attacks healing for 35% of the damage dealt. We're getting more basic attack damage from Might of the Nerazim and from Psionic Strength. And that sustain is going to be really useful too. And just again, helping you put out more damage during Psionic Strength. Getting, that extra cooldown reduction. It's just really good. It's a lot of sustain. Your basic attacks do a ton of damage. Level 16, we're going to get Sentenced to Death. So this makes you deal 30% increased damage to enemies while they have a Singularity Spike attached to them. Your spikes are lasting longer thanks to Seeker in the Dark. So this gives you that extra chunk of burst, which is fantastic. Oh, it's kind of spazzing out there. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it gives you a nice extra chunk of burst damage, nice bit of kill pressure, which is really what you're looking for. Zeratul is more so about those smaller windows. Also, this will crucially synergize very well with Twilight Falls at level 20, where using Might of the Nerazim will reset the cooldown of all of your basic abilities. So yeah, this is just by far, it's arguably the best level 20 in the game. It's insanely strong. I talked about how good Rewind was for Nova. This is Rewind on a 15-second cooldown. It's absolutely nuts. So again, this will let you throw out a second Singularity Spike, triggering all of that damage. You have Psionic Strength. You become an absolute monster with this. You're a massive threat. Every 15 seconds, you can legitimately absolutely explode a squishy hero. And yeah, there is Zeratul. I think this is probably the build that you're going. This is the build you want to go for at the start. A little bit of wiggle room here and there in a couple of tiers. I would say, for example, you could legitimately, a Q build is actually pretty good too. There's nothing too wrong with the Q build. But generally speaking, I think this is going to be the best for your typical solo Q game. Hopping over to Samuro then. Samuro has also not changed all that much in terms of playstyle. At level 1, we're going to get Wave Illusion. So this is a quest. Every time one of your images critically strikes a hero, you gain 0.5 attack damage up to 20. And then after hitting 40 heroes, you gain an additional 20 attack damage. It's just the most consistent damage increase overall. This is, I think, the one that you want to be grabbing. Level 4 is pretty interesting. You can get all of these. They're all decent enough. Mirage will give you and your mirror images 2 charges of spell block, reducing damage from the next ability by 50%. So you'll take this when they have large, hard-hitting abilities. So for example, you know, if Kael'thas Flame Strikes are an issue, this might be something to grab. If they have a Chromie, this is a very good one to grab. That sort of stuff, you know, just think about, okay, do they have slow, hard-hitting abilities? If they have lots of very fast-hitting abilities, you might not want to grab this because you'll lose those spell block charges very quickly, but it's a very strong talent. The one I'm going to go for most overall is actually going to be one with the Wind. So while you have Wind Walk, and for 3 seconds after breaking it, you and your mirror images gain 30 armor. This talent has become more appealing now because of the stealth shader changes. So you're going to be it's going to be much harder to get in. And you're just going to be focused down a little bit more with that. When you come out of Windwalk, you'll be able to be knocked out of Windwalk and killed. This just gives you that sort of consistent survivability that's very much under your control. I think either of these, Deflection's not bad either. They've got a lot of basic attacks, giving you 25% physical armor, essentially, against hero basic attacks when your trait's up. So when you're hitting people, basically. It's not bad either. One with the Wind, though, or Mirage. Again, it really depends. Do you want just general armor, or do you need that spell armor against these hard-hitting single spells? Level 7, Burning Blade, critical strike unleashes a burst of flame, doing an additional 65% of your basic attack damage to the target nearby enemies. It's just still the best by far. It has been for a long time. It just super enhances your PvE, which is really important. It's also very good for PvP too, so why would you not take it? It's just too good, right? So Burning Blade is the one you want. Level 10, we're going to go for Illusion Master. Now, this is more complicated, okay? I recommend watching some pro Samuro play. I think I have a Samuro video recently enough, a couple of them perhaps, that you could watch as well. This lets you switch places with your mirror image more frequently, which is nice. The big thing is that it lets you control your mirror images separately. It gives you total control over them. And they also deal an additional 15% of your damage. So the damage increase it's fine. It's not too bad. The big deal is that you can move the images around. It gives you some really strong teamfight mobility. It also opens up very strong map play from level 10, where you can soak multiple lanes by jumping between them with your images. You can create an awful lot of cross-map pressure, get tons of XP for your team, lots of structural damage from being in the right place at the right time, and just so much more flexibility. It's like this pseudo-global, very strong, but you do need to know what you're doing to get the most out of it. If you're not comfortable with that, if you're just like grouping the images and walking around as 3 attack moving, there's no real point, just get Blade Storm. But yeah, Illusion Master is better. Level 13, Mirrored Steel is my talent of choice here. So basic attacks against heroes, reduce the cooldown of mirror image. Again, this does synergize nicely with Mirage as well, bear that in mind. This is just great because it lets you pop that mirror image ability much more frequently in the team fights. And this is even better now with the rework because you can control where you appear after you cast mirror image. So it gives you some of that mobility in the team fight. It also creates a lot of deception, a lot of escape possibilities, because the enemy's just not sure which one you're going to be. It just adds that layer of confusion. It lets your images be up more consistently, a little bit more damage there too. And yeah, it's just really good. This is the one that I think is the best overall, for sure. Level 16, Merciless Strikes is the best one if you can proc it consistently. So this makes your basic attacks against stunned, rooted, or slowed enemies always crit, which is obviously ridiculously strong. It goes without saying, really. So yeah, I mean, do you have that stuff on your team? Then yeah, it's great. Bear in mind you've got no way to proc this yourself. Unlike a Cassia, for example, who's got something similar. So you really need to be aware of how much CC and how consistent the CC will be on your team, and will you be hitting the targets that are being CC'd. If it doesn't work, the other ones are good. Press the attack would probably be the best one, which gives you 10% attack speed, up to 40% while your advancing strikes active on Samuro, and this works with the mirror images as well. So it really depends exactly what you're going for. But yeah, either of those are very, very good options. Then at level 20, it's pretty interesting here as well. So 3-blade style is okay, again, for more map play, which can be good, particularly on bigger maps. It's not too shabby. I'd say Windstrider is the best overall, particularly if you've comboed it with one with the wind. So this will give you, it gives you nice mobility in the team fight. It also gives you very consistent armor uptime. It will enable you to get, more value out of press the attack, or to commit more aggressively to getting merciless strikes off. And that extra survivability from going into stealth as well will enable you to get more mirrored steel attacks off too. So overall, I think Windstrider is the best one. It's a bit more flexible though. 3-blade style isn't too shabby. Blade Master's Pursuit, giving you move speed and extra duration, is a little bit underwhelming, but I think it's okay. Certainly if you're, again, a little bit uncomfortable, it can be okay to go for it. But this is overall going to be my general build here for the Samuro. It's going to look something like this. Now, hopping over to the final hero, and this is the one that I'm most uncertain about with Valeera, because she's really changed an awful lot. So it's difficult to know exactly what you're going to go for. Level 1 is quite interesting. So Vigor is pretty unappealing to me now. I wouldn't particularly be going for that one anymore. Combat Readiness is very strong. Combo points giving you physical armor. That's quite nice. Subtlety is quite appealing now, because this will trigger whenever you teleport with one of your abilities. That's what you want to be doing. You really want to be teleporting with those abilities. You're very much incentivized with Valeera now to start off in stealth and then to engage with your teleport out of stealth. This is why subtlety wasn't necessarily that good before, because you needed to be, again, in stealth for a few seconds before it would trigger. And very often with the old Valeera, what you would do was you just, pop into Vanish, then instantly teleport, because you're going for Q build with the old Death from Above, or I think it was still called Death from Above, which you give a teleport on your Q later in the game, and you just be like dipping into Vanish for a second and then teleporting with Q onto the back line. So you weren't actually triggering subtlety. You're going to be triggering it a lot more now, so it is a pretty solid option. Overall, I'm going to go for Crippling Poison though, just generally. So this makes your next damaging ability and subsequent abilities within 4 seconds slow targets by 25% for 4 seconds. So it's a lot of a slow. It enables you to be a lot more consistent. And I do think that Garrot is now her best ability overall out of stealth. It gives an almost... It's 2.75 seconds of silence, which is an incredibly long time. That will absolutely wreck a lot of heroes. So that's generally the one that you're going to want to open up with. Cheap Shot has a very small stun. It's more so, I'd say, leaning towards the blind against heroes with heavy basic attacks. And Ambush is okay for some blow-ups and things like that. If people are caught out of position, you need to kill them quickly. But Crippling Poison is just going to be great, because you're not going to be, again, even the Cheap Shot stun lasting an awful lot shorter. This will help you stay in range, get your damage out, and just gives you that extra teamfight control. So yeah, Crippling Poison. Level 4 is also pretty interesting, and here, again, I think there's a few good options. So Hemorrhage is okay, though it can be difficult to actually get that off. Relentless Strikes is also not bad either. This is the tier I'm perhaps most unsure about, and you're not especially locked into any of them. Initiative is nice. It gives your stealth opener additional 2 combo points, which is good. Because it enables you to go in with that crippling poison and do something like a Garroth, teleport in with Garroth, then use your W, your Blade Flurry, to slow everyone around you, then go in with an Eviscerate, and there you go. You've got your 3 combo point Eviscerate, just like that. You've got your Q available to follow up with more damage, especially if you go into Seal Fate. It gives you a lot of really nice burst, and so it's pretty good. Wound Poison is also very good as well. So this makes your next damaging ability and subsequent abilities in 4 seconds, reduce enemy healing by 50% for 4 seconds. So you could, in theory, get this up for, I mean, let's say you could pretty reasonably probably get this up for 6 seconds on a target, 50% less healing. That's very, very strong. So if they have, yeah, it just depends what sort of healer they have, what sort of healing they're doing, and how your team engages. But Wound Poison could be a very solid option to throw out there. It's well worth considering. I'm going to say Initiative as your general build, but very heavily leaning towards Wound Poison if it's going to be strong in a particular game. Level 7 is where things get a bit weird. None of these are all that good. It's a pretty dodgy tier. I'm going to say Fatal Finesse is going to be my my talent of choice on this tier, but by a fairly small margin. It's a quest, you know, you have to stack it up. Every time you hit an enemy hero with your Blade Flurry, increases the damage by 3 up to 60. It's fairly meh, right? It's fairly meh. After damaging 20 heroes with Blade Flurry, it permanently reduces its energy cost by 20. Now that's very nice. That extra energy really opens up a lot of playmaking tools in Valeera's kit. You really do feel that difference in that extra 20 energy, like, because you're spamming this. It enables you to spam this quite a bit. The reason I'm kind of leaning towards this is certainly if you're picking Crippling Poison, and definitely if you're picking Wound Poison, obviously your Blade Flurry becomes an incredibly potent way to apply those, because it applies them in an AoE, right? So you've got a very good chance to apply your poisons to multiple members of the enemy team, and this enables you to do a bit more consistently. Now the quest does take a while to finish though, but I think you will be paying a bit more attention to Blade Flurry with the reworks to the poisons and how they are going to apply not just on your first ability, but continuously. That means that it's much easier to make them work with Blade Flurry. So yeah, I think this one is the one to go for. Level 10, Smoke Bomb. So put down a cloud of smoke, get 25 armor, and you're unrevealable for 5 seconds. So yeah, this just enables you to be much more aggressive with those openers because you can Smoke Bomb and stay alive. I also like the level 20 for it a lot. We'll come to that. Yeah, I just think this is really nice, especially, you know, because, yeah, you're not stunning per se. You're probably going to be silencing. It will give you a bit more opportunity to survive and stuff like that. It's pretty good. Level 13 then. This one's pretty interesting too. Generally speaking, you're going to go for Strangle. Strangle means that using Garroth on a hero will reduce their spell power by 40% for 6 seconds. So, of course, they're going to be silenced for half of that. So bear that in mind. It's not as ridiculously OP as it sounds, but it's still very good. But they're going to be silenced for 2.75 seconds, and then they're going to have another 3.25 seconds where their spell power is down by 40%. So needless to say, hitting a mage with your Garroth is going to be absolutely crippling, or anyone that relies on spell power, like, you know, Ragnaros as well, for example. He does tons of spell damage. It's going to be very crippling to those heroes. This is just really nice in general. Most heroes do lots of spell damage, and this reduces it significantly. So yeah, I think Strangle stands out to me as being the best. Blind, of course, is obviously going to be great against, you know, those hyper carry heroes, like, you know, a Butcher or something like that. Butcher, you know, Vala, Zul'jin, whoever it might be. That's obviously going to be great against them. Strangle generally going to be your go-to. Level 16 is pretty interesting as well. It's pretty interesting as well. I would say if you're going for, if you take Wound Poison, I'd pretty much always then be taking Seal Fate. So Seal Fate makes your Sinister Strike do 50% additional damage and generate an additional combo point when used against silenced, rooted, or stunned enemy heroes. It's mostly the combo point that you're going for here. So this will let you start off with your Garroth. They're slowed by the Garroth and silenced, actually. So that will then, because they're slowed, it's easier to hit them with your Q afterwards, and they're silenced at that proc Seal Fate. So the Garroth gives you 1 combo point, then Seal Fate will give you the 3. You can follow up then with your Eviscerate, and there you go, nice, some burst damage, and then you can focus on, okay, landing my W for maximum poison application. Pretty good. Thistle Tea is also okay. It's not too bad. That could be worth going for as well. Assassinate, maybe. That's also a go-to here. This opens up your Q as a much more usable ability. You know, an additional 10 armor reduction. That's a lot of burst from your team as well. So that could be pretty good for looking for some picks. I'd say generally speaking, you're going to go for Steel Fate. In fact, let me switch over to Wound Poison here. You know what, YOLO, let's go for it. Seeing as, yeah, I'm thinking this through, guys. And I'm thinking, let's go for the poisons as the default choice, and then you can just switch away from Wound Poison if it's not going to be applicable. I think that makes the most sense. Then at level 20, we're going to get Adrenaline Rush. All right, because they're going to be a fairly energy-hungry build here. This will give you 30 energy regen while in your Smoke Bomb. So it opens up Smoke Bomb as also a very effective, aggressive cooldown. And what's really nice about this is that you can engage with your opener, you're applying your poisons, right? Then you throw down the Smoke Bomb. You can do a fair bit of burst then while you're within the Smoke Bomb, but the real nice thing here is that you'll be basically capped on energy as your Vanish comes back off cooldown. So you're pretty much ready then to move out of your Smoke Bomb back into a Vanish with full energy to do another combo for damage, which is pretty nice. I think this overall is the most appealing one at level 20. They removed the cooldown reduction on your stealth. Now it's just extra movement speed, which is a little underwhelming, but it could be good, especially if you're getting knocked out of stealth. It will enable you to get in and actually get your opener off more consistently, so that's nice. Rupture gives you more damage, it's okay. I think that Adrenaline Rush is probably going to be the best one overall. Enveloping Shadows is good too, if you're taking Cloak of Shadows, but I think you want Smoke Bomb with this. So yeah, that's what my build for Valeera is looking like at the moment. It's a lot more focused on control. Very much focused on control, really. Shutting down what the enemy is trying to do. You have to really get into the mindset. Again, if you played a rogue in WoW and PvP, you'll know this, where yes, you certainly do good damage and you've got, you know, good burst potential. Yes. But very much what the rogue brings is very good survivability. And also a ton of disruption and a ton of crowd control on the enemy team, right? It's not just about damage. I say like Arms Warrior, which I'm playing at the moment, right? That's just, you just do damage. You just go in and you burst people, right? Like Colossus Smash variant, I guess. Rogue's not so much about that, and Valeera not so much about that. It's very much about control and shutting down. So yeah, that's what I think for Valeera, and that's what I'll be going for there. So there you guys go. Those are the builds that I'm looking for these heroes. So that's Hanzo. We're looking at a Q build with Dragon's Arrow. For Nova, we're definitely looking at a long shot with one in the chamber type build. With Zeratul, we're building around Might of the Nerazim and, you know, just assassinating, picking people off. With Samuro, we're still quite focused on Illusion Master and that sort of map play. Just going all over the map and, you know, trying to control stuff, being disruptive in team fights, and the enemy's not quite sure who to hit. And then with Valeera, we're all about control, just disrupting the enemy team and just being a pain in the butt. That's what she's good at, right? That's what Valeera's good at. So there you guys go. That is the builds. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know if you like these kind of videos as well. I thought, seeing as there's so much new stuff in this patch, it'd be pretty useful to give you guys some pointers on where to go. And I will see you all next time as we go into the infinite collapsing screen for more Heroes of the Storm. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.